a good friend of mine, and the owner of Oklahoma Generator, universal master electrician in the state of Oklahoma, and honestly just all around the best guy that I know. Guys, give a hand for Kevin Larrison. Let's get it going. Here we go. Kevin's going to come on up. So what we're going to do today is Kevin and I are going to kind of work together with you guys. I want to just explain our relationship real quick. We met in Colorado, and Kevin was looking for a computer system, looking for some help in his business, and I remember the first thing that you said to me was, well, right now I'm working like 60 to 80 hours a week. Right?
That's on a short week.
On a short week. There you go. Anybody in that same boat ever feel that way? Working 60, 80 hours a week sometimes? Yeah. Jim? Some guys? Okay, totally. Kevin had a big organization. They were doing $7 million a year in sales. Just weren't making shit for profit on it. And he's working all the time. And I told him, you work with me, I'll get you give me a year, 2 years, I'll get you completely moved out of the business. We'll do a lot of cool stuff together. I can make a big difference. And Steve vouched for me, Caleb vouched for me, and Caleb who also just got promoted to sales director. We just saw that announced on LinkedIn. So round of applause for our friend Caleb. If anyone knows Caleb, I'll make sure to give him a shout out from the group today. Congratulations, Caleb. And he got us together. Now what we did was, first thing we did with Kevin is we looked at the business, right? What did you say to me, Kevin? You don't want to be on the road anymore, right? Tell people a little bit about your story with starting your business and where you came from and how you got to meet up with me in Colorado.
So that I don't want to be on the road, goes back much further than, actually meeting you. Back in 2001, 9/11 happened. I worked for a union shop in cogeneration. And those of us that are old enough that remember 9/11, how that kind of changed our thoughts and beliefs. I had 2 small children at home and a wife, but yet I was always on the road. I can remember walking into my supervisor's office and giving him that news that I no longer wanted to be on the road. So that's really kind of where that originated. And that kind of fast forwarded myself in a different direction of being an employee to ascertaining the thoughts of opening my own business. That happened in 2004. I left IBW 1141, got my contractor's license, and opened up Larrison Electrical Services. We did a lot of commercial and industrial work. We had an ice storm in 2007. Just shy of 1 million people were without power for close to 2 weeks. That was when I very first saw a Generac home standby unit. I installed 4 of them for 4 dudes that drove to Texas. As I was there on the day of the install, we were installing them. My first question to that man was, where did you get this? I need one. Sweet. So fast forward, that was our, like I said, our first endeavor with Generac. In 2007, 2013, we had an EF5 that unfortunately killed about 40 kids and a school in a heavily populated area in Moore, Oklahoma. Just so happens to be where my office is. That's kind of when we really doubled down in the home standby. That's when we started paring down our electrical services. We got rid of 3 industrial accounts. We closed our residential new construction department. I was only a company of 7 men at that time. So in 2013, we doubled down on home standby. Things got lean in 18, 19. You can remember those years, Steve. Yes, there were no power outages. You really started questioning that commitment to the generator space. We were living on service. The phone calls for installations during the non-weather months, interest was minimal. Now fast forward just a short time ahead. We just celebrated our 6th anniversary since COVID. We all remember COVID. Oklahoma had an ice storm again, October 26th of 2020. So not only did we have COVID, we had an ice storm with 1.2 million people without power. February 2021, we had Winter Storm Uri. Affected 5.8 million people in the state of Texas. 2021, like I said, that's when we started talking, was at the end of 2021. Guys, went from a shop of 6, 7 men, now I was a shop of 20. And we were inundated with work. And that was all we did, was work. Through rapid expansion and growth and a lack of structure on the sales side was killing me. My production and my service department was to the T's. Everybody knew what to do because I had put all of that effort into those 2 pillars. But this young, dumb journeyman electrician treated my sales department that I now had with other individuals. There was no process. The process that I had was me. Now that you took me out of that process, I had chaos. I had inconsistencies. I had 3 different sales reps, and they all sold differently. Hence, I still remember it to this day. I was on Facebook, and this stupid reel came across, and it had his face on it. Wow. And, he was selling a 5 for 5.
5 sessions for $500.
5 sessions, 5 one-hour sessions for $500. And I was like, I spent $500 at a blackjack table. Let's make this investment. That's true. And that's where it started. Fast forward, we've been partners with TSSG for 2 years. Guys, we're in Zuper. We use Zuper like no other of his customers do. We're continually pushing the envelope and building out. And the things that we do with Zuper nowadays is crazy. We have over 5,000 maintenance customers. We will sell 600 units this year, and we have an office staff of 7 people. And it's because I continually make an investment into the company. Into software. We're continually striving to improve. There's a lot of things that he showed you throughout today. And when I attend these seminars, I'm like, I see that. But yet at the office, we have a list of 100 things that we still are trying to achieve. So I've always thought that we were climbing a mountain, and it's like, we've reached that next plateau. But just recently, I changed my thought process to, we're no longer climbing a mountain. I'm on a Stairmaster. And those steps are never going to stop coming. And I'm never going to stop climbing those steps.
What have you done as a dealer to get to prestige, right? And to get to that highest tier, What would you say your day looks like now compared to when you ran a premier dealership? You were working 60 to 70 hours a week in the dealership when it was premier. Now it's prestige and you just took a month off and went on vacation. Why have you stopped working in the dealership and now started working on it to get to that next level?
Most of us realize that, as the owner, and just by default, we become the hub, and every appendage or spoke, we become that hub and spoke, business model. The only thing is we're not smart enough to realize that we're the bottleneck of the company, that everything is being handled by yourself. And because we trust ourselves and our abilities, and we don't empower our managers, our sales associates, our field technicians. We don't empower them to replace ourselves. So one of the biggest things that I have found is that I invest in each of my team members. So like you said, I just took a month off. I'm fixing to do it again. And so it's easier to say that we're going to work on the business instead of in the business. But until you get to that mindset and you say, yes, I need to work on my business. We talk about it all the time. Utilization cost.
Utilization cost. Does anybody
Utilization
know that
cost.
term? Could anybody put hands up for who knows the term utilization cost? Oh, okay, we can talk about this. So let's talk about this. This is a TSSG principle that I discuss in coaching, and if anybody's interested in coaching further than this, we can definitely talk after today. We have a couple of programs, including our growth partner program, which Kevin's a part of. Now, utilization cost inside of a business is how much does it cost me to do this task? Okay? And what you got to do is you got to look at each employee, you got to look at how much time they work, and you have to look at the task that they do. So, for instance, does it make sense for me as the owner to go out and do service calls? Peter, does that make a lot of sense? Because I can pay a dude 1/3 of what I make to go out and do service calls, right? So does it make sense for me as the owner of the business to go home and mow my lawn today for 2 hours? No, because I could pay a lawn care company to go mow my lawn less than what I probably pay myself an hour. So the idea of utilization cost is getting the job cost and then getting the per person cost inside the business and start analyzing, hey, how many things am I doing and how much do I get paid to do each one of those things? And then you start breaking those hours down and you break those tasks down. When Kevin and I started doing this, we put up on a whiteboard, what does Kevin do? Remember that? Mm-hmm. And it ended up being like a list of like 40 things inside of the business. Kevin ordered the parts, and Kevin went to the parts depot every morning, and Kevin took the generators in, and Kevin talked to the generator rep, and Kevin signed off on this, and we started looking and we went, oh shit, all the problems that we're having here? Yeah, it's because we don't have 4 Kevins. We got to the size of the business where we just couldn't do it anymore. Now, the last time we were there, we had one thing written on the board, heavy liquid cooled above 60 kilowatts, which we're almost to the point where our other electrician and new guy in the business is taking that over. So what I want you guys to understand is we looked at the utilization cost and we said, is it take time for Kevin to do this? Does it make sense to do that? Or could we give this to an employee who we pay less, get this cost away from us, and then it opens up time for us to then do what? More important things. This isn't just for ownership. This is for each other part of the business, and this is how you should look at bringing in new staff. If you think about bringing in new staff, is saying like, okay, what duties is this person doing that I feel like maybe we're overpaying for right now, and how could I bring somebody in at a lower cost to get those things done? Does utilization cost make sense to everybody now? It's something you really want to think about inside your organization is, am I paying the right people to do the right things? And am I doing things that are way too expensive for me to be doing? Get where I'm coming from? So you've been doing that, right?
Absolutely.
And now you're managing those people who used to do the job that you're doing.
Right. So instead of working that 80 to 90 hours a week, actually out there unloading the semi, breaking down generators, loading generators out for the production team, assisting with, scheduling, seeing that bulk oil is, being delivered on Mondays, that batteries are coming on Tuesday. Did we get the recycle oil, claimed, did that guy get called this, that? It all adds up. It all adds up. And one of the things is, yes, all of that was important in the day-to-day, right? But all of those things, the clearance sheet, the videos, the emails, the follow-up processes, that was second tier to that, because this had to happen today for the business to run. So I never had the time to get that stuff done. Now, as you see, as we've seen these things that you're presenting, we've built all of that. And now it's all built. We use it every day. And the downside to building all of these cool things is it only increases your appetite to be better. So just when you think you've crested that top, you're at that plateau, here comes that next step. That Stairmaster did not turn off. There's another step tomorrow. There's another step next week.
That's how I keep getting paid too. Right? So the way that I put it, guys, to tell you the truth, and I'm gonna turn it over to Kevin for about 10 minutes so you guys can ask him some questions to get some answers without me. But the way I put it, and we come to this analogy, is that I feel like it's climbing a ladder. And what happens is that the higher you get up that ladder, the better view you start to get of things. And every time you pop up another rung, all of a sudden you get a higher view and go like, oh, wait a second, right? You never feel like we're done. It's every time that we accomplish something we look to accomplish, it's like we're starting over again, because now we have a whole nother goal that we want to push towards. Absolutely. Right? And I think that that's where all of you should be looking at where your businesses are today and saying to yourself, like, I'm not prestige today. Do I want to be prestige? Cool. What's my roadmap to that? How do I get there? Is that a 5-year thing? Is that a 3-year thing? Is that a 6-month thing? But unless you actually write that roadmap down, you put it on the whiteboard, you put down everything that you want to get done, and you set a plan up for it, then it's just an idea. And a lot of people have ideas. Plans is what separates us as business owners, salespeople, effective people, from these other people who just talk about it. You guys all know those people. I get them every day. They come up to me and they go, I was going to start a business just like TSSG a couple of years ago. I'm pumped that you did it, but man, I had this same idea, right? The difference is making the plan and enacting it.
One of the biggest differences between Oklahoma Generator and a lot of other dealerships is that slogan right there. Focus on what you can do and not what everybody else is doing. I have a generator supercenter in my territory. It's the 5th largest dealer in the network. Okay, 5th largest dealer. Their 6 locations did $30 million in 2024. Okay, instead of focusing on what Generator Supercenter does, we focus on what Oklahoma Generator can do. So I would tell you, if that is your thought process, that I would strongly encourage you to self-examine and focus on what you can do as a dealer.
Well, all right, great.
Oh, I can go?
Yeah, let's 10 minutes. Put your hands up and ask Kevin a question. I'm sure he'll take some questions right now. I'll get out of the way and let him answer. Go ahead. What do you got, Kevin? Who's got a question for Kevin?
So, talking about next steps, you've just achieved this great milestone. You spoke at the Generac conference. You're speaking here. What's the next step?
Next step for us, one of the things that we talk about quite often as well is I'm a little bit different in a way of I'm never looking for more. Everybody's always looking for more. They want more leads. They're looking for other business opportunities. I just tell people I want to be better. We want to be better. We only closed at 38% last year. What would my business look like if I closed at 48%? Another 90 generator sales. It's another truck and a half. It's another $1.4 million in gross sales. So continued development and improvement for customer experience. You know, we still come up short. We still miss the mark. I got a text message yesterday from a customer that chose to go with another dealer. Like, that makes our skin boil. Okay, so as far as next steps, you know, I've been in this space for cogeneration. I'm on 28 years now. I've been a Generac dealer since '08. Continuing to improve. My ultimate goal, I would love to get into consulting and work with dealers and helping dealers in production and service. Because when I got started, there was nobody out there. There was not a strong support network for dealerships. Everybody's on their own. Yes, you have tech support, you have this. You have your master or your journeyman or your electrical contractor. So I think at some point in the next 5 to 7 years, that's probably going to be my next step. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I felt very honored. You know, there's almost 10,000 dealers in our channel. And Chris Meese reached out to me November and asked me if I'd speak on the main stage. I immediately said no. You know, standing up in front of 35 of you, I'm sweating pretty good. You know, standing up in front of 4,000, no. But I knew that I had to. So therefore, I agreed, and it went well. You know, I'm always going to be the hardest critique on myself. I could have said some things differently, could have been better. But ultimately, the response from dealers that came up to me, that one I either knew or didn't know, that told me how it challenged them and impacted them and what they were going to be doing in their next steps, brought great joy to myself. And seeing that, and some of these guys, I'm part of their lives now. You know, I meet with them once a month, have a phone call, shoot text messages back and forth where things pop up. They're looking for some guidance. Yes, Steve.
I really do. Because like when we build out a conference, I mean, everything, Kevin's being very humble. Kevin earned this. We work very closely with dealers to try to figure out, like, you know, what do we want to talk about? What are our initiatives? Like, this goes to almost like December, you know. It made complete sense to have Kevin come up there and talk about these changes that he's enacted in his business. So that's all to you. You were phenomenal on that stage, and I'll tell you what, you crushed it. But it's the work you put in. Okay. You know? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now that you're working on the business, what are some things that you're actively involved in, and how does your week play?
So we have a well-established builder program at our Tulsa location. So we have a location in Oklahoma City that's 18 years old. Last year in Tulsa, we opened a location. We hired a few people away from that generator super center. So I actively work with that builder program salesman to learn that, because we want to recreate that in Oklahoma City. Networking, relationships, electrical contractors, other dealers. I sell a lot of product. I have a large network of dealers that I know very intimately. I work on that a lot. Mentoring, my sales manager, my service manager. I was my service tech for 11 years. Okay, I've had my hands and knees, on the ground for a long time. I was in the soft launch program. Everybody has next gens out there, right? Okay, I was selected to be a member of the soft launch program. So I was instrumental in that. And when we got next gen product, now I had to train 9 service technicians, 3 install crews on something. So when next gen, launched, we were up to speed. So that's what I spend a lot of time when I'm working like in the businesses with training. But really, when truly, I spend a lot of time, working on the business, like where are we going next? How are we going to improve? Not trying to figure out why somebody didn't answer the emergency line. What did Mrs. Smith need at 8:30 last night when the emergency line rang? Used to, I was on those on-call rotations. I took a week every 6 weeks. I was the technician. I was the phone answer. Yes, sir?
Since you made those changes, with like kind of buying back your time, I guess, how many hours a week do you work?
Oh, I love to work. I love to work. That's something that I still struggle with, even when I'm gone. Is I want to work. How many hours do I have to work? I have to work 0. But I probably work 35 to 45 hours a week, and that fluctuates. But I mean, I went to, where did I go? I went somewhere. I went to the conference. I went to Mexico. I was home for a week. I went on the Power Experience trip to Curacao. I came here. I have 3 days of something coming up, and then I'll be, on a trip doing something that I truly love, spearfishing and scuba diving. I'll be gone for 19 days, and I'll probably work that much. So, has it been a lot of work in 2 years? 2+ years? Absolutely. But we have accomplished what my goal was in 2 years. The plan for the succession is in play. And the plan is not to sell to a private equity. The plan was to have a succession plan to where I have a business that can run the business without me.